I haven't used my chainsaw in a while. I'm gonna get it out and do a little bit of chainsawing. I keep it here in this shed. But I haven't used it in a while. I use a Stihl MS 170. Papa suggested this chainsaw. It's good for trimming. It's not good for really big jobs, but we're thinking about getting another chainsaw, another Stihl. Papa bought a chainsaw mill. Attach your chainsaw to it and you can mill some lumber. We've got some trees and stuff over here that we can mill. Got these big piles over here that the tree trimmers brought. But I want to trim a little bit over here in our dozer pile. So I haven't started this in a while. I'm hoping it starts right up. I've never had any trouble with my Stihl starting in the past. I was going to use it a while back, but I couldn't find my scrinch in order to put some more fuel and bar oil in there. But I'm gonna put the fuel and the bar oil in there. I'll kind of show you what I'm doing, and then we'll take it over to the dozer pile and see about getting some stuff done. Might go in here to cow pasture paddock number 1, where we're trying to create silvopasture and cut a little bit of stuff for them there so they can have some green leaves to eat on. So this is a scrinch. What it is a tool that you can take the bar off. It's got the right size wrench for this, so it fits there whenever I need to tighten or loosen it. And it's also got a screwdriver right here, a flathead screwdriver that I use in order to open and close this lid for the fuel and for the bar oil. Seems like the chain's about right. I probably should sharpen it, but I don't want to sharpen it right now. I'm not very good at sharpening chains, so I'm just going to put some oil in it and see about cutting just a little bit. And then if I need to sharpen it, I'll sharpen it later. I've already got my fuel mixed. It's oil with gasoline. And most of the time for bar oil, I use old engine oil. For those of you who don't use chainsaws, every time that you add fuel in here, you also add bar oil. And the bar oil just keeps the chain lubricated. It's also very important to get these lids tightened pretty securely because Papa has lost them before. I'm not lost one, but he has. Now let's see if it'll get started. And this is the same as the weed eater that we use. It's got off, that's the 0, then the 1 is on, and then it's got half choke and full choke. When you're starting it, you put it on full choke and you pull the string until it's kind of halfway starts. Then you put it on half choke and then you pull it the rest of the way until it gets started. Usually it doesn't do that. I usually have to hear it make a little bit of a noise and then put it on half choke afterward. But it started, hear it. I haven't started it in, it may have been, 8-10 months. It's been a while, but it just started right up, so that's really handy. I'm gonna see if I've got any ear protection and eye protection in here. I've not always worn ear protection and eye protection, but I know I ought to, and I know that if I don't, then y'all are gonna fuss at me. And I appreciate that actually, because I should wear eye protection and ear protection. You only have one set of eyes and one set of ears, so you need to make sure you take care of yourself. Booyah! So I'm gonna turn this off until I get to where I'm gonna go and what I'm gonna do. I hear the cattle lowing for a lot of food. They want something, so I'm gonna go in there and cut them some stuff first, and then I'll come over here to the dozer pile and cut a little bit. Over here for the cattle, we are trying to create silvopasture. If you've been watching my channel very long, you know that I've talked about this in the past. We have 7 head of Irish Dexter cattle. We also have 2 goats in here, 2 billy goats. We don't want our nannies to get bred and kid during the winter time. So in addition to the gates that we have, we've got this man door right here. There's a hinge on it. You see how it's opening and closing? I think Grandpa did this, but he had these 2 trees that are really close together. So if the goats or the cattle push on it, it's gonna push up against this tree. We can push on the outside and open it. Before I cut trees in here, a lot of times I like to try to identify them. If it's something useful, I don't want to cut it. We've got lots of oaks in here, and those are really great for lumber. This one right here is a mulberry tree. I've never actually seen any mulberries on it before, but I like to save mulberries for now. I might ultimately cut it depending on if it produces anything or not, but for now we're saving it. These cattle. There's the neighbor's cat too. He hears all the commotion and coming over here to check out and see what's going on. There's also right over here a dogwood tree. They're not really very valuable, but they produce flowers that are very pretty. And Papa really likes them. It reminds him of his mama. He always saved as many as possible. So I don't cut them unless I just have to. And he definitely doesn't cut them. Right here behind me is a hickory tree. We've got lots of hickory trees in here. Hickory's not worth very much as far as lumber goes. Plus we've got tons of big hickories in here anyway. So I'm gonna cut this little hickory right here. The Irish Dexter cattle don't really like hickory that much, but the goats do. So if I cut it, then they're gonna be pretty pleased. Eye protection, ear protection. I know what you're gonna say. I did about a million different things wrong. It's definitely true. It hit this other tree up here and I couldn't get it loose. Interestingly enough though, the cattle must be hungry enough to be eating hickory, or their tastes have changed, so they're eating this. Sometimes I like to cut it off at a stump like that because it'll coppice out. Some of these will. More leaves will come out and then the cattle can eat those too. See if there's anything else we can cut. Oh, by the way, my saw definitely does need sharpening. So we're trying to develop this area into silvopasture. In order to do that, you've got to let a lot of light into the area that you want the grass to grow. We're fine with the patience involved in doing that. I'm certain that eventually this will be really grassy and have lots of nice stuff in here. Got to clean up all this brush. You see brush all over the place in here. In the meantime, we're gonna have to help cut some of these trees in order to let the light in. We're also gonna have to make sure they have food. We've bought lots of hay for the winter time because there won't be a whole lot of food in here for the winter time, but we don't really have enough hay to feed them all the time. We're trying to cut trees and stuff in order to make this silvopasture. Now, I feel like we cut a lot already here in paddock 1. That's where this is, but this is where we decided to keep them for the rest of the year. We can still clean a few more out of here in order to make it more ready for them. Here are the billy goats. There's Hans. Hans is a Toggenburg, and there's Noah. He's mostly Sonnen, I think. But I'm looking for another tree to cut. Here's another dogwood. This one right here. Papa likes those again. He remembers his mama that way. Unless the oaks are really crooked, I don't cut any oaks. And if they're really large, I don't cut the hickories. I'll cut small things. If this was a hickory right here, I would cut it. So let's keep looking for something. This one right here is a cedar tree. Something about goats is that they love cedar bark. I've never seen any of the cattle do this before the goats got in here. Sure, the cattle still don't do it. But now when you're walking through here, because the goats are in here, there are several of these cedars that have some of the bark eaten off. That only satisfied them for a minute, I guess. I'm thinking about cutting this maple tree right here. It's probably a red maple. I think they do have some value when it comes to, obviously you can tap them. Not a whole lot of people tap maple trees in this area of the world. You gotta have some hot and cold for that to get the sap to come down. But I don't think I will cut this. I'll look for something smaller. One of the reasons I'm gonna look for something smaller is because there's some other trees around it that might stop it from falling the way I want it to, and I really don't want to fight it like I did the last one. Hey, Hans, come here. He was over here for me to pet him a second ago. We got these from some friends locally, and he's become the sire of a lot of our herd. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of these trees are going straight up. That's because it was so thick in here before. I'll take you over to close to the property line on the west side so you can see what it looks like all the way over there versus what it looks like over here that we've been working on clearing this out some. There's a maple tree back there that I can cut in just a minute, but I want to go ahead and cut this and cut that maple tree last. Here's another maple tree right here, but I want to cut this first because this is landing on the fence and I need to get rid of it. I just haven't had a chance to do so. I have not been in here with my chainsaw for a while. Glasses first. I'm also going to cut this maple tree back here. Look how it curves up. See how? It's a pretty ugly tree, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it for you. The camera fell over and you missed it. Sorry about that, but they're pretty happy with it. You saw what it looked like all through there. And we'll turn the camera around so you can see on the other side of the property line. So this is our neighbor's property that's just west of us, and this is what this used to look like as well. So it was all grown up, full of green stuff like that. We put the 5 head that we had at the time of cattle in here. No, 6. We had 5 and had just had a calf in here in paddock 1. Anyway, we put the 6 head of cattle that we had in here at the time in this, and within a couple of weeks they had all of it eaten down, or we had to start cutting trees, and that's why you see all the trees on the ground. So all the brush and underbrush that was there was like this, was like in here in paddock 1 before. They've done a really great job on it, and we're trying to turn this into silvopasture. Like I said, we're gonna keep a bunch of the trees. The trees are really great because it provides shade for the cattle and the goats. And it's going to provide us lumber. It might make the grass grow a little bit slower, but the grass will definitely grow here eventually. It's just going to take us a few years to build this up. And we've got 2 other paddocks like this. This is the one that we've cut the most out of, but we kept them in paddock 3 over last winter, and we're going to keep them here in paddock 1 this winter. This is what it looks like. Look at the cattle behind me. Look how they're eating these leaves. They're happy. They love maple. Maple is one of their favorites. They enjoy that. They'll eat oak because we've cut some small oak before. They'll eat the hackberries. They'll eat bread buds because they've knocked some of those down. They don't get really large. They like mulberry. Mulberry is a really great fodder for critters. This is a big work in progress, but I wanted to share that with you and share about my chainsaw. I need to sharpen it. I know some of you might already be saying that. Might already have commented it, but it does need to be sharpened. I will sharpen it. I'm not very good at it, and maybe some of you can give me some tips on that as well. If you like things like this, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, select all so you never miss a notification. Thanks.